Yeah, girls in Desi culture are afraid to lift weights.
Yeah, girls think that if they touch a 5 pound dumbbell, they're gonna turn into Miss Olympia and morph into
Yeah.
She-Hulk. That's not how it works.
I've noticed that here in Pakistan, the men, after they eat, they need a cigarette. They'll go out for a cigarette. And I've seen my chachu do it,
Yeah,
I've seen my cousins do it. Like, oh, I'll be right back. And then they'll just go smoke and come back. Why is that though? Why do you need it after you smoke?
Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Podcast. So, funny story, this was actually supposed to be a cricket podcast for this week, assuming that Pakistan would have won, but that did not happen. So for obvious reasons, I decided to skip on that episode for the time being. That was pretty disappointing. Not only did we lose to India, but we also lost to Bangladesh. That's not very common. Not to hate on those two teams. Those teams are obviously at the top of their game. But damn, really? Really? I don't follow cricket closely. But come on. Itni bhi bisti kaun karata hai, right? Patak ke mara hai dono teamon ne humko. Anyway, for today's episode, we have two guests. One is Maha, who is returning from a previous episode that we did. Which episode was that, Maha? The marriage one, right?
Yeah, the marriage one.
Best age to get married. Yeah, so Maha was a guest on that. So this is her second time. And then our second guest is Daniel. We also call him Dan. And he lives in the United States. So Daniel, I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm a Daniel or a Dan. I'm 21 years old. I'm in Oklahoma in the United States. I like to lift weights, like watching movies and hanging out with friends when possible.
Are you studying?
Yeah, I'm studying computer science. I'm currently a sophomore in the second semester.
Nice. Have you always been in Oklahoma, or did you move there?
I moved from Connecticut in 2012.
Right. Yeah, and I think Oklahoma is a pretty bold move. There's not a lot of Desis there, right? Not a lot of other Pakistani.
Oh, no, not at all. Especially in our town, man. In our town, it's a town of 35,000 people. At most, in terms of Desis, there's no Pakistani Muslims. Like, we had a big Pakistani Muslim kind of circle in Connecticut. Here, it's like you have Indians. And I mean, besides that, no one else you can really relate with. It's kind of sad. It's kind of isolated, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's honestly one of the reasons why I like joining the Pakistan Discord, is because I could talk to Pakistanis every day.
Yeah, I totally get you. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. When I first moved to Connecticut, actually, the part of Connecticut that I moved to did not have a lot of Muslims either. Very few Pakistanis at that time, at least. Like, this was like 1999. And then afterwards, a lot of Pakistanis moved in. Yeah, during the time that we moved, we had to drive 45 minutes just to get halal food.
Wow. That's how it is here, actually, man. Halal food is like 45 minutes to an hour away in a bigger city. Yeah,
I'm not even used to that anymore because now, like in Dallas, there's a huge Pakistani community, right? So halal food's like just around the corner. You can get it 5-10 minutes away. I don't know if I could ever do that again, but yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's a good start. So I think what we were going to discuss today was an open-ended conversation around health and eating habits, as well as fitness habits within the Desi community, perceptions of what is good and what is bad, and what is good for you and what is bad for you. So I guess set the stage a little bit. I wanted to shed some light on some facts. The average Pakistani life expectancy today, according to WHO group, the average life expectancy for Pakistan is 66. And not only is that one of the lowest on earth, but that's actually the lowest within South Asian countries. So just to get some perspective, India is 68. So that's just 2 years over 66, right? Now, this one's surprising. Bangladesh is 72. That's actually pretty healthy, pretty good, right? Nepal is 69. I wasn't able to figure out on the internet why those countries are higher. Moreover, US, the average age most people live to is 79. And then guess which country is the highest? Can either of you guess?
Japan. Like
That's
China.
Right. No, Japan.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Japan
is the highest with 84. The average age is 84. So this topic really caught my interest, right? And I started to wonder, why is the average life expectancy so low in Pakistan? And I wasn't able to find anything concrete on the internet. There's some factors that could be driving this. One is child mortality, for example. So many kids die from premature births in Pakistan. That's still a problem. Vaccinations is another one. But there might be more to this. So my personal opinion is our lifestyle, including our diet and exercise or lack thereof, might be playing a role within this. And before we start, I just want to state that none of us are experts on this podcast right now, and there is no professional opinion being presented to you on this podcast. But what we really want to do is start a discussion and share some food for thought. So with that said, let's get started. What do you guys think? Maha, what do you think?
Right. So I think both of those things, eating too much and not exercising enough or getting somewhat exercise in throughout the day, like that's a very bad habit. The Pakistani or the Desi community, like the concept of portion control, we don't have that at all. And how we eat carbohydrates they're so big that like a plate of biryani, that's all that someone would eat. There's no portion control. And then after you eat, you just sit on your ass all day. Like, I don't know. And it's most of the households in Pakistan, like I've seen. Like, I don't know, personally, like since I've been here, after you eat, there's a craving that you get for sweets. And I think that's the worst. Like, first of all, you're sitting after you eat and then you're not working out, you're not going out at all. People usually tend to stay inside because it's so hot. There's no way you can go out and go for a walk or a jog. And then on top of that, you're having cravings for sweets. And I've never had like cravings for sweets in Canada, like after you eat.
But you do in Pakistan?
Yeah, and it's so weird.
Yeah, you raise a pretty good point, actually, because I know this, right? We go to, even here, when we go to people's houses, desi to desi, right? There's a dawat or something. You go to their house and right after the food, there's a mandatory dessert portion and you have to eat that. It's actually pretty rude to say no because they put it in a plate for you and, somebody has to finish that. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm not a fan of sweets at all, but yeah.
I love sweets.
Yeah, I feel like you build a taste for it once it becomes routine. And that might be what you're experiencing because you're in Pakistan right now, right? So you might be getting accustomed to getting dessert offered to you after you eat dinner or lunch. And when that dessert is not offered, then, it feels like something is missing. So you might be getting cravings because of that.
Right, that's so true. And then also in Pakistan, there's a concept of staying up at night. Like Karachi never sleeps. It's a city that never sleeps. So everyone's, even like places that you can go out to eat, they're open till like 3-4 a.m.
Yeah, they're staying up, smoking cigarettes, watching movies.
Yeah,
I remember
exactly.
that. Good times.
Yeah, yeah, legit. Even now, like it's 6 a.m. and I'm still not asleep. And this is the point. This is the point where you feel hungry, and instead of having like 3 meals a day, you're having 4 meals a day, or snacks in between.
Yeah, right. You said a really interesting phrase, which is portion control, right? I feel like that was an excellent use of words because one of the reasons that I think Japan is so high up on that list is, have you ever seen Japanese portions?
Yes.
Japanese bento boxes? Yeah. Even here, if you go get Japanese street food or go to a restaurant or something, they have really tiny portions. And I'm in Texas, right? And Texas has the highest, I believe, obesity rates in the country. And the reason for that is, and I've lived on the East Coast, West Coast, and now I'm in Texas. The portions here are out of control. They're an average meal. I go to a burger place or something. The average burger is like 1,500 calories. You get fries with that and a milkshake. That's like a 3,000 calorie meal.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah. I've heard your guys' your standard small is not even a small, it's like a medium.
Yeah, you can feel the difference. You go from here to California, the portions are a lot more reasonable. You go from here to New York, the portions are a lot more reasonable. And the food is more international too, right? So you'll get a variety of foods and they keep your portions in check.
There are no portions in Pakistan. There's no such thing as food categories. There's no such thing as vegetables in Pakistan. It's just chicken or rice. Like that's all I've been having. Like ban gaye to like sabzi. There's the only thing, and that's like once in a while, and kids never eat that.
Oh yeah, right. Somebody cooks vegetables in our family.
Yeah.
Nobody eats that. Nobody wants it.
The standard's like a heaping plate of rice and chicken,
Yeah.
or like a bunch of naan and some like delicious rich salan, not conducive to healthy living.
Here, even roti is a minimum. At my khala's house, she'll make a salan, and they won't eat it with, like, the kids won't eat it with roti. They'll have it with rice. And I find that so weird because that's all they're having, rice and meat.
Right. And it's white rice too, right? It's not even like, I eat brown rice a lot under the assumption that it's healthier, and because it doesn't taste as good as white rice, I eat less. So that that helps me. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think one story that comes to my mind around this is when I went to Pakistan. It's like a bragging thing to eat more. I have like a relative in the family, like an uncle, and he bragged about his world record. और मेरा record है मैं 7 किलो गोश्त खा गया था एक बार. I ate like 7 kilos of beef, and yeah, that I broke everybody's records and got a lot of pats for that. I was like, okay, that's great. But yeah, like, that's how people talk. Oh, tu ki kha sakna?
When you see other people eating a lot, you come into the influence. Like the first thing in Pakistan, I was literally holding my stomach at night. I couldn't fall asleep. I ate so much.
Yeah. Heartburn, right? Heartburn is another problem. You eat so much.
Yeah, acid reflux and stuff.
I thought it was interesting when you guys brought up white rice. It's pretty interesting because the Japanese love white rice, and it just goes back to the importance of portion control. Because here are the Pakistanis who also eat white rice by the bucket loads, and we get fat because of it. And not to mention, we're also putting like dal in it, like the rice in biryani is a lot more fatty than the rice you'll have in like sushi, for example. But then the rice that the Japanese eat, like that same kind of white rice, it's in much smaller quantities, and it's simply just steamed rice. It's nothing more than that. It's not rich, kind of soupy rice,
When my mom makes plain white rice, she puts like oil on top of it so it doesn't stick together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And while it's boiling, you put like salt in it as well to give it a little bit taste. That's ridiculous. Because most Desi families have a history of diabetes or blood pressure and like cholesterol and stuff.
Yeah, stroke.
Yeah, right. Yeah, diabetes is a huge epidemic in Pakistan. And yeah, lots of it is genetic. So we're often predisposed to have it if we don't counter against it. So that kind of scares me as well. Okay. What other bad habits can you guys think of? We just talked about, I kind of touched on smoking, right? Smoking is still a huge problem. It does cut your life short. All of my brothers smoke, right? Most of my uncles smoke as well. And I'm the only one in my family who does not, the only male who does not, besides my dad. And I see it's a huge social thing. If you don't smoke, you're basically not called outside to hang out with the guys, and you're stuck inside with the girls.
Exactly.
I'm at the point where I don't care anymore. But when I was younger, I used to care. I wanted to fit in. So I used to smoke, be able to socialize with the guys outside. And thankfully, I was able to withdraw out of that before it became a bad habit.
Well, I think in regards to smoking, tobacco is there's a huge issue in my state, in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is like it's a really working class blue collar state, and the lives a lot of people live are kind of grindy, for lack of a better word. Just like go to work, you have a blue collar tough job, and you smoke to cope with that. And I think people in Pakistan do it for the same reason. Like obviously the quality of life in Pakistan isn't that good for many people, and so you have cigarettes that are relatively cheap and accessible, and like every street side vendor will sell you like a spare like a Lucy, a spare cigarette for a few rupees.
They even sell it to kids.
Yeah, even to kids. But yeah, it's so easily accessible, and it's cheap, and it feels good, and you feel relaxed for the 10 minutes your cigarette's lit, and that's the unfortunate thing. It's like smoking isn't the core problem. The core problem is the stress that the people experience. And smoking, for the lack of a better term, is kind of like a bandage that people put on, except it's like a disgusting infected bandage, obviously, because it messes you up even more.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dan, because my oldest brother, uses that to justify his smoking habit. When I ask him, why are you smoking so much, like a pack, 2 packs a day? He used to smoke a lot. He used to cut down, but he still smokes a lot, right? he'll just be like, "Oh, I'm under a lot of stress. I got deadlines to meet. My job is tough. Kids are driving me crazy." I'm like, "Come on, man. I have about the same level of stress. There's just different ways of dealing with it. My job is tough as well, right?" Yeah, I feel like it's mindset. Thankfully, that's not an issue for me. I just replace that with other ways. I guess I just listen to music. I don't know what
Yeah.
helps me, or working out, or just keeping your mind away from things and distracting yourself. There's just so many options out there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is core cause of it is stress, unfortunately.
Mhm.
That's how a lot of people destroy their own bodies. Like not just smoking either. It's also the other topic in this podcast, eating, overeating.
Mhm.
I'm sure a lot of that's related to stress. You finally get together with the family at the end of the week, and you can have a huge plate of biryani, have nihari, have your mitai after,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's another way of unwinding.
I've noticed that here in Pakistan, the men, after they eat, they need a cigarette. They'll go out for a cigarette. And I've seen that. I've seen my chacha do it. I've seen
Yeah,
my
yep.
cousins do it. Like, oh, I'll be right back. And then they'll just go smoke and come back. Why is that
hmm
though? Why do you need it after you smoke? Well, after you eat? Does it have to do with the food?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if Dan has an answer to this. I feel like it's almost like a craving sweets
Yeah.
after you eat. It might be similar to that.
Yeah, nicotine's also a bit of a stimulant. I guess if like after stuffing yourself, you're having kind of a food coma. You just go out to smoke with the boys, and you might feel a bit more alert. I don't know. I'd go as far as saying as stress is the problem. Everything else comes from it. Like it's like in
Right.
terms of social problems, stress is the biggest issue, and everything else stems from that. Like everything else bad, overeating, smoking is a way of trying to curb that stress.
Very true.
Going back to the, I guess, overeating problem, there's obesity is another issue in Pakistan, right? I've noticed there's a new wave of thought now where people are trying to go on walks and just, I guess, diet a bit more, and not just the younger people, the older people too, right? My mom tries, my aunts try, my uncles try to basically get healthier, eat less, walk more, and of course they don't lose weight that quickly because they think they might be doing it right, but they're usually not. So, for example, my mom goes for a walk. She walks for a good 20, 30 minutes, but she can't walk a lot because her knees hurt too, right? So, and then she'll come back and she'll like, not all the time. I don't want to, just throw dirt at her, but many times she'll come home and she'll eat a gulab jamun.
Mm-hmm.
Weakness feel yeah, that's what I've heard. I feel weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little statement or expression among the fitness like gurus community and whatnot that you can't outrun a bad diet, and the calories that they're burning doing their walks, which also aren't that intensive. I'll be honest, like they just walk. They're not even power walking. They're just walking.
That's true. Yeah.
Say they burn like 100 calories. They're gonna come back in and they're gonna eat some gulab jamun, and I'm pretty sure each gulab jamun, like each little sphere or whatever, has like 80, 90 calories, and they might eat two or three, and that right there is like that's your entire walk. It's gone. And
Yeah.
Down.
people do it here too. People do it here too, actually. Like fatter states, they'll exercise a little bit and they'll say, "Oh, I need a cheat meal. I need a cheat meal every day," and that cheat meal becomes a cheat day and whatnot, and they justify their bad eating by going through the motions of fitness.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, our bodies aren't that good at burning calories, like even through exercise. And
Yeah.
so you almost always screw up your hard work if you overeat after you exercise. I mean, besides like rare cases, like rare examples, like of top athletes and whatnot who eat like 5,000 calories or more a day, because not only are they exercising a lot, they also have performance enhancing drugs in their system that also increase their metabolism. But for most, I'd also include myself in this, and normal people with like people who just casually lift or don't lift at all. Like you have to watch your diet, and you can never outrun a bad diet. In that case, you have to cut calories if you want to lose weight.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. And by the way, I just looked up gulab jamun calories on the internet. I guess an average gulab jamun is 150.
Oh
So that's a lot.
wow.
Oh yeah, so even more. Yeah, it's just basically a
Yeah.
super dense ball of fat and sugar. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of
Huge.
calories.
Yeah, right. And I don't think I've ever eaten more than one in one sitting.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
just a side fun fact, my niece, when she was like 4 or 5, she ate 6 of
Oh
them in
my
one
god,
sitting.
no way.
Jeez.
6 gulab jamun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Dang.
So I guess the issue that goes along with that, hopefully we're not doing that on this podcast right now. But I would say there's a line between just trying to help somebody and just ridiculing them. And I think in Desi culture, my culture, which is Punjabi, shaming in general, and they'll notice every single change in your body
Yeah,
and every cloth you're wearing and how it makes you look, and
especially auntie.
basically, and I've noticed they focus more on the negatives and less on the positives, right?
Yeah, it's
No.
horrible. Like you said, there's more awareness in Pakistan now about like walking and eating healthier. Yeah, but like, what if someone is already overweight or is struggling with weight, and the way they're like treated, it's horrible. They make fun of you. The taunts are horrible. Aunties are so rude, especially to girls when they're overweight. You get 1,000 things. Shadi kaise hogi? Do you have kids if you're overweight? It just makes things worse for the person than any better. There's no concept of support in Pakistan. Like if you want someone to lose weight, help them out. Like go with them, take them to the gym. Don't just like making fun of them in public with family around, with everyone sitting around. It's just a terrible thing. And I've
Right.
been through that, so I know how it feels. Like all my life, I've been a very healthy child. So when I was growing up, I've always been overweight for my age, and I'm still on the chubby side. So yeah, I still get it. Like weight lose kar my shadi ki umar ho gayi hai, you know? You need to get married.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that they put a woman through.
I think most people just by nature can't deal with shaming. Let me explain this let me explain this in another way. I'm the kind of person who, if I get made fun of, it makes me want to achieve a certain goal even more. Like I've gotten made fun of for being like I used to be pretty fat, and I'd get made fun of by people close to me, and that just made me want to change myself even more. Like it just bounced off of me, no pun intended, like the insults. But I agree that for most people, insults aren't productive at all. It breaks people down. If you chip away at someone over time, they'll just fall apart. And while some people like myself might not be affected by those insults, most people need positive reinforcement.
I'm the opposite of that. I'm very emotional and things get to me really badly.
Yeah.
Like that shit gets to me, and me, I'm the exact opposite of what you said. Like if someone's fat shaming me or saying shit to me, I will sit on my ass and I will do nothing because of that. Because you're demotivating me. That makes me not want to do things, especially my mom.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. It's annoying
Yeah.
when it comes from your mother of all people. I think that's a good topic for another day too. The stuff we'll hear from our parents that would make like non-Desis, for example, recoil in shock. Like, wow.
Yeah. You mean you got beat up for crying?
Yeah. And I mean, fat loss, it's a long-term thing. You know, there's no instant results unless you get surgery or something, but that has its own hurdles.
Yeah.
It's a thing that lasts over the course of months, and that's a long time if you think about it. Like every day, imagine being insulted every day. Even if you're losing weight, it takes a while. Imagine being insulted every day, whereas it would take you like 6 months to say have any like noticeable changes. You're being insulted every day for being fat, and that would make most people feel like shit.
But then on top of that, it takes time to get started as well.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to start,
Yeah.
when you have your mind made up and you're constantly getting put down, like imagine not wanting to start. That just sucks.
I think circumstances has a big role to play in this as well. So in Dan's case, he mentioned getting put down kind of results in him wanting to achieve a goal even more. And I can relate to that. And at the same time, Maha's case is a bit different. So you get put down, but due to circumstance, maybe you're having a bad time in your life, maybe things are just not working out in other factors of your life as well. All that kind of culminates, I guess, into one big negative feeling. That's what I've seen in others, and that's what I've experienced in myself. So some days I'll get put down and I'll be super motivated to kind of prove that person wrong. But then other days I'll get put down and I'll just be like, you know what, life sucks and there's no point even trying to fight against it. So it just, I guess, depends on all the other factors going on in your life. So I really think people should be careful on what they say. In Desi culture, especially, there's no filter on our mouths for a lot of people. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like people take out they take out their own insecurities on others. A lot of people who aren't comfortable in their own bodies, possibly, and in their own selves, might have maybe not achieved something. It's almost like they don't want you to achieve that same thing which they missed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, like, I want to make a comment on the part about no filter. It's just frustrating because our culture is also one that encourages respect of elders so much, and it's those same elders that abuse their position and they'll insult you and put you down. I hate that.
Yeah, very true.
I think it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Dan, do you have anything more you want to discuss on the fitness aspect, I guess, like besides just the food?
I mean, I think people underestimate the amount of exercise they need, and they underestimate a lot of things when it comes to fitness. But a lot of older people I've noticed are afraid of weight training and weightlifting and doing squats and stuff. And those are sometimes the most productive ways to reshape your body and look better, more than just simple walks down the street and dieting a bit. Because when you build muscle, it's when you're gaining muscle, you're looking better, and it's as good as just losing weight, if not better, because you start looking stronger and healthier. Here in the States, it's huge. Like, with powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, all these things are really popular on social media. So these things aren't just like, squats and deadlifts and all the exercises. They aren't just reserved to athletes, regular people do them. And you see regular people on Instagram squatting 500 pounds, like just your average Joe who might work a random industry, not anything related to fitness. I think a lot more people need an attitude shift.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
they should stop being afraid of things that benefit them.
And especially girls, right? Uncles is one
Oh
thing.
yeah, everyone, man or woman, looks better, I think, if they exercise and they stop being afraid of weights. Whatever exercise you do. I mean, in the end, even if you're walking, it's still something. But
Right.
people should stop being afraid of muscle or getting muscular.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I guess on that note, one thing that I personally believe in is you should at the very least, you should be able to control your body weight. So, for example, I know some people, mostly girls actually in my family, who can't even do one push up. I feel like, it's your body weight. You should be able to control it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And honestly, if you can do one push up, you're not going to grow pecs the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger's or something. So, being able to do even like one push up, one pull up, one squat, one anything that involves using your own body weight, I feel like every single person, the way I picture it is, let's say I'm lost in a jungle and a forest or something, and the only way to get out of there to pull myself off, like on top of a tree branch or something, and then climb up over a fence. And if I couldn't do one pull up, then I would die of starvation. And that's how I think of it sometimes. I feel like that's a message not just for the guys, but also for the girls. You don't have to squat 500 pounds, but at the very least, be able to lift your own weight. Any motivating tips for people who are just starting off and they don't want to get intimidated?
I always tell newbies that save your money. Don't hire the personal trainer. Don't go to the CrossFit gym. Just go to like your $5 a month, $10. Go to your YMCA or something.
Yeah.
And spend the money that you save on food, on chicken and stuff, and rice and beans, and that benefits you a lot more than a CrossFit gym, a personal trainer who charges like $50 an hour or something, like just uses his phone while you're doing like lightweight on a machine.
Yeah, right. Another thing that came to my mind, which is guys, especially Desi guys, this kind of blends into another topic that I wanted to talk about in the future. But there's a mindset that only girls cook, right? And guys are just there to eat. And because of that,
oh yeah, I hate that.
yeah, when they move out by themselves, because they have that mindset that there should be a girl in the house that needs to cook, and there's no girl in their apartment, hopefully, they just refuse to cook, and they just go out and get like all this unhealthy food every single day, eating out, takeouts, food deliveries, pizza delivery, and
expensive too.
Expensive too, yeah. I've gone through that. So
I love cooking. It's fun cooking. I like meal prepping too. Like some people hate meal prepping, but I think it's fun. Like making meals for the next few days. Not like glamorous. It's not glamorous cooking. You're just frying up chicken and boiling rice or beans. Healthy food, honestly, is a lot cheaper than people think. When they think of healthy, unfortunately, they think of only like the nicest organic vegetables and whatnot that, are kind of expensive. But beans, for example, beans are a really, really rich, high fiber, high protein food source. And I can find beans at the dollar store. I can find like 16 to 32 servings dried beans for $1. 16
Right.
to 32 servings, depending on the type of bean, like red bean, red kidney bean, or pinto bean, or whatever. And that right there is like a whole week's worth of meals, part of a whole week's worth of meals for $1. And then you get some chicken, and chicken's like pretty cheap here. And then you get some rice. Rice is dirt cheap wherever you are, as long as you're like getting some like fancy rice. Like if you just get some basic white rice, it's very cheap. And as we talked about before, just practice portion control, and you'll be good. Because rice in itself is very, very healthy. It's just overeating that is what screws you up.
Yeah, I completely agree. I learned this other technique off of Reddit, actually, several years ago when I was living in California by myself. Get a slow cooker. And basically,
slow cookers.
I would just throw in all the things that I wanted to eat. So basically just chicken, and I would put a desi twist to it. So, add in some red chili, turmeric, and
cumin,
coriander powder, cumin, all that stuff, right? And then basically just leave it, go to work, and run it for 6 hours, come back home, and it would be ready. So I did that for a few days, and then later on, I just kind of turned on the slow cooker after I got home, just for safety reasons. But that used to work really well, and with very little preparation too. All you had to do is just buy the ingredients and throw them in the cooker, and and
it tastes great. Like slow cooker chicken is one of those amazing meals that, like, for how low calorie it is. I mean, it's just chicken, salt, and whatever seasonings you want, other seasonings like hot sauce or cumin or whatever. Right. It tastes delicious.
Now, just so I was thinking, maybe we should say something positive about desi culture too. It's like to make sure we're not shitting on Pakistan all the time.
Yeah, true.
Is there something we can think of we do correctly in our culture that maybe Americans can learn from or Canadians can learn from?
Delicious food that it isn't so reliant on sugar. Because in a lot of American dishes, even in the main course, much less the dessert, you have sugar added in foods. But with our food, it's non-sugary, it's like a crutch, like non-sugary flavors. It's a whole variety of different spices, and I mean, that's why I love our cuisine. Like it's great, and to an extent, I can understand why people get really fat. All the uncles chow down because it's so good. And I mean, honestly, it's like, not gonna lie, it's pretty high protein, so you can make some gains off that if you watch yourself.
Also, comparing it to, I guess, North America, desi culture, like, we have less processed food, home cooked food. It's real, it's legit. We don't have as much processed food as the North American culture, I guess.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, actually, overall more nutritious food. I know you kind of mentioned that, but what I really mean is, like, we have the variety in our cuisine. We have so much variety. If you think about it, we cook like almost every vegetable.
Yeah.
That's a different story that we don't always eat that stuff, but you can combine chicken with squash, with spinach and eggplants, but like my mom does all that combination, and some things we like, some things we don't. But overall, our cuisine, if we do it right, and we don't eat like naan chole every day with halim and paye and stuff, you can actually make it pretty healthy. You can control, for example, the amount of oil that you put in there. You don't have to put in as much as my mom does, for example.
We make it taste amazing.
Yeah. Now that for some reason, when I go to a desi restaurant, I always choose chicken biryani. I don't know why. Speaking of that variety, I always choose like one of the less healthier but more delicious options. But that's a different story.
I found that the way restaurants make biryani is just it's addictive. I don't know why. It's just it's not as good as the biryani you can get at home, but it's tasty.
It's
I think it's how spicy they make it. Yeah, it's usually spicier than the stuff you make or eat at home, because you kind of build like a light sheen of sweat over your forehead when you're eating it, because it's so spicy and it's great.
Yeah. Right, varies from restaurant to restaurant, I guess. But yeah, he does have a point. Like, I've never had restaurant cooked biryani that was better than home cooked. Yet, for some reason, whenever I go to Pakistani restaurants, I have to try the biryani. It's almost like my way of measuring that restaurant's, quality. If you have good biryani, I'll come back.
That's so true.
If not, So thanks a lot for joining again, Maha.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, and thank you, Dan.
I'm glad to be here. It was a nice talk.
Yeah, awesome.